what things, what people, what situations are contributing to reinforcing this thing that I don't want to be, this reality that I don't want to be in. And what do I need to do to change that? Number one, it's going to be uncomfortable as heck. It's like trying to learn a new language. You ever try to learn a new language? You're going to have a terrible accent. You're going to have to repeat it a million times. You're going to pick the wrong word. It's so uncomfortable. But it's the only way to learn. But so many people are afraid of that leap that they just decide not to learn. And that is what constricts us. That's what's, chaining us to the same life that we've always had. It inhibits our freedom.
Welcome to OTR, Over the Rainbow, Achieving Mental Health for Real. This podcast offers hope to many people who needlessly suffer from mental health issues. Your host, Bob Adelman, brings you information on how you can recover from any mental health issue and achieve a happier life. If you want to know more, please check out his trailer. Bob's notes on today's show follows.
Estefana Johnson is a licensed clinical social worker and experienced trauma therapist with over 2 decades of experience in mental health. Estefana is leading the launch of critical memory integration, a groundbreaking therapeutic model that dares to ask, what if talk therapy isn't enough? CMI is turning heads in the mental health world by challenging the long-held belief that trauma can simply be desensitized or cognitively reframed. Instead, it dives beneath the surface, helping clients uncover and rewrite the unconscious survival strategies still dictating their lives long after the trauma has passed. She is currently a dosing session monitor at Lighthouse Psychiatry and TMS in Gilbert, Arizona, contributing both to clinical care and research trials exploring the therapeutic use of psychedelics.
Now, here's Bob with today's show.
Hello, this is Bob. Our interview is going to start in a minute. I just wanted to talk about what we talked about last week, Real Plus. It seemed that it's not as popular as I thought it might be. I think I misrepresented it a little bit, especially when I said it was a Patreon site. We are not going on Patreon. We are going on a site called Ko-fi. That's Ko-fi. They are a lot more friendly, and there's not as much begging on there. The reason I put Real Plus out there is I felt that it was time that we had a vehicle to express ourselves, all of us, not just me. So you could tell me what questions you want to ask. I know this could be a problem for people that want to stay anonymous, but there is a way, and I'm going to be showing that way on a short video that'll be on ko-fi.com/OTR Achieving. One word. That's Ko-fi OTR Achieving. If you go to that site, you can see the video on how to create an anonymous AOL mail. So if there is a problem of being worried about somebody finding out, oh, you have a mental illness, I think this takes care of it. If it's just a lack of interest in expressing yourself, then there's nothing I can do about that. But the site is out there. Basically, you have to have a log on to use it properly, to be able to post. I had set up a community forum. So if you go to the site, which is ko-fi.com/OTR Achieving, one word, you will see a site out there, and you'll also see an instruction video soon. It might not be out there yet, but wait a day or two. And it'll show you how to go through creating an AOL mail that's anonymous, and this way you don't have to reveal who you are to anyone. You just have to keep your AOL mail through incognito, let's say. I think what you'll see out there is that real truth and community will equal recovery. It always has to be community as well. You can't do this alone. You're not an island. You can't do all of this by yourself. And I'm reaching out to all of you so we, as a whole, we can prosper. So all I'm asking, forget about the other post that I did, or you don't have to vote or nothing. Just go out to Ko-Fi, OTR, Achieving. Just look at it. And if you're interested, create a log on, follow, and then you're a member. As soon as you follow, you're a member. Now, the other thing is the premium package, which will have all these great features. But what I'm going to do is, as I build the features, I'm going to give every member, and that's a person who has a log on and who follows, I'm going to give every member a sample of each feature. So you will get a sample of the transcripts. You will get a sample of the outtake. You will get a sample of the monthly letter. You will get probably a sample of the blog, but you're getting the blog anyway. If you're a member, you're getting the blog. Or, the premium package is great, but the only reason I'm asking for the package is to advertise the show, because what is it? The Pod Engine is giving us a 68, and they don't even have my social media stuff. So I'm probably in the 70, 80s, but my volume is not there because I can't reach people. I can't get to them. The quality said was 80, but we can't get the people. But I hope you guys go to ko-fi.com/OTR Achieving, one word. And you'll come to the website and it'll have donate. I couldn't get the donate stuff off, or I would have took it off. It's stuck on there. There's no way to get it off that I know of. Just ignore it. I put it down to $1 and I said, this is not for Real Plus. If you want to donate, it'll go right into advertising the show. I'm not making any money, believe me. All I'm doing is trying to save some souls from having to go through the absolute misery I went through for too many years, and I'm still going through. So that's all. Enjoy the show. It's a very good one. Hello, and welcome to OTR, Estefana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. They say any day above ground is a good day.
Well, welcome, and I'm very excited. Our backgrounds are similar. We're both female Hispanics. Now, I stole your joke.
Yeah.
She said that earlier. I thought that was pretty good. So the first question I always ask is just briefly tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm just a person. I'm a human being, fellow sojourner on this path, trying to figure out how to best maximize what we can get from life and leave an impact hopefully on making it a better world for my kids and for those that come after us.
Okay. First, can we talk about, would you like to talk a little bit about how your childhood was when you were growing up?
Sure. I mean, I think that, everybody has their own challenges in childhood. And, my particular flavor of challenges was, coming in as a first generation Mexican American, which as a kid, you don't really realize how much your experiences impact how your view of the world and how you perceive reality. And I was raised like in an adobe house, with the dirt floors, even though we were like right on the outskirts of El Paso. You can call that, it's pretty drastic poverty. I mean, definitely on government assistance, but I joke around and say if you sweep for too long, you end up with a basement, because it's a dirt floor. But I was a happy kid. I mean, I had some anger issues too, because there was like domestic violence in the home, and had a very religious, rigid religious family, and mom had pretty severe trauma, so she had a lot of pain that she kind of projected on us as kids. And so, growing up, I think you just know what you know. That's all you know. You just think this is what the world's about. But going to school and seeing how people were different, just start questioning what is it about you that makes you not deserving of maybe what other kids have, or why, other kids seem to look at things differently or know different things. And you don't think, you just question it. You don't really realize it's hard for a little kid to conceptualize life. You're just trying to figure it out. So I recognize that, once I grew up, how much a lot of those experiences impacted how I see the world, how, my attachment strategies and things like that. And of course, after I became a mental health professional, it really, I started understanding there was labels on things. And I think the hard part is, as a person who experiences stuff, that's just life to you. So to have someone outside of you label it as a problem can be pretty impactful as well. I mean, I think sometimes labels really play into our already struggles with accepting ourselves. And so coming from that background, I think that's why I have such a passion for normalizing the human experience and saying, yeah, this for you might be weird, but it just makes sense in my world and the way I was raised. So that's kind of how I approach everything and how I approach my practice and my interactions with people. I'm very curious about their history and about their experiences, because I know that plays a lot of a part in how we respond to things, how we navigate through life. We're all different.
Sounds good. One of the things that when I was listening to one of your podcasts was you mentioned the fact that talking about anxiety, and I think you brought up a really big point that's really stuck with me. You mentioned that you have to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And this is so much my problem that you wouldn't believe it. And I do the things like try to stop the demons from, I call them demons because they whisper things. Try to stop the demons. I do I stay in the moment. I rub things. I think about the birds and it works 90% of the time. But then I'll wake up one day and it's not working anymore. And a lot of my problems are the fact that I have inherited some of these things like dyslexia. And, I just have a combination of yes, this is chemical and this has to do with,
biologically,
how you are, prone to having problems with anxiety. Because my kids have it too. And they are totally different than me. They're neurotypical. So my biggest threat is me. So in other words, even on this podcast, I could come to a point where I start blanking out for no reason. And then I go into a panic and all of that stuff. So anytime I have to do something that involves talking or relating to another person, the microphone is friendly. But when I talk to other people, I get extremely nervous or I get this bad feeling about getting nervous. So my biggest enemy is me. In other words, I'm afraid of being afraid, what I can do to my body, because in the past, things would happen like blanking out, which is very embarrassing. Yeah. I do it on the air as well sometimes. My short-term memory is very bad. So going into this, I almost have to go into fight or flight. I don't seem to have a big choice right now because part of ADHD, I think, I guess you do it, but I don't know how to get the chemicals flowing, other than addictive behaviors. Yeah.
So I think, let me offer you something. First, it's not you. The you is the part that is aware of what your body and your mind are doing. Your body and your mind are doing what they did or they needed to do to survive at some point throughout your lifetime, throughout your history of experiences. And I don't know your childhood. I wasn't there. But if I was like a sleuth, a detective, just in the little bit that you've shared, my brain would be like, oh, this would make sense. That if what we know about the nervous system is wired to keep you alive, right? That's period. Like that's its priority. When you're a kid, there's not a lot of options. You have fight, flight, freeze, but then what happens if you can't fight because you're little? You can't just move out. You can't sign a lease when you're 5 years old, because you live in a toxic environment. You can't, there's not a lot of options. So the nervous system, what's so beautiful about it is that if it thinks we can't escape the danger, then I'm going to at least disconnect you from the experience so that you don't have to suffer. And it's such a beautiful thing, but it's very inconvenient over time.
It makes things so much worse because then I start panicking. I forget what I'm saying. I have to ask the person, what was I saying? I mean, that's very embarrassing, especially on a podcast. And it's the reason I do this relaxed in an environment where if I make a mistake, which I have already, because this is a bad day.
Yeah, that's okay. You're
maybe
doing
that's
great.
good. Maybe that's good that it's a bad day.
Yeah,
but,
you're doing great.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I don't have confidence in things I do well. I do. In other words, when I was growing up, I loved to play sports. Why? There was no talking.
Yeah.
In other words, you just yell at people and stuff. You run around, and that's fine. I had confidence in my ability to play well, and I was very competitive. That had to do with the moment being exciting, not really bad, actually really good. Before it got all out of proportion, when I entered junior high, it was kind of like entering the real world. My parents took me to a different place, Alabama, and I just shut down.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's too much. Your brain's trying to process a new environment, new people, and think about what are what would you call it? Like those caveman tendencies, for survival is like you don't want to be ostracized by the group. That could be, certain
which I was anyway.
Yeah,
I was anyway.
It feels threatening, and anything that we experience early on in life, if it threatens our relationship with our caretakers or those that have some control over our safety, then it becomes a survival mechanism. Unfortunately, if it's never updated, we still respond to those stressors as if it's a life or death situation, even the question way past that time.
The question is, if I didn't do it, could I do it? In other words, I raise my level by getting nervous. I always do. If I know what I'm talking about and it's not a real bad day where things are really getting to me quickly and I can't fight them off, then I'm great. Everybody goes, oh, you're doing great. Like you said before. But the issue is, I get scared to death when I talk, on a bad day like today.
Yeah.
I'm terrified at this point, but.
So think about
that's why
the
I
words
do
you
it.
just said, Bob. You said, I get scared to death and I'm terrified. What is the threat? Can you think about what the threat is?
I am.
What is the threat? Are you going to die?
My overthink. No, I'll be embarrassed.
Okay, there's embarrassment, but that's not the same as death.
Well, also, like I said before, I'm competitive. I don't like to lose. So that to me is a loss.
Losing and embarrassment is uncomfortable, but that's not the same as death.
And then also worried about it accelerating because my voices go up. Oh my God, you can't do this. Guess what? You're going to have another episode where you're dysfunctional.
So there's judgments. There's judgment on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's come from other people too, but there's judgment on yourself. So there's embarrassment. There's a threat of embarrassment. It's really all discomfort that is the threat.
Yeah.
But none of it qualifies as a life or death threat. Right? It's just the uncomfortable.
In a way it does, because if I become dysfunctional, that's kind of like death. I get severe depression and I can't talk to anybody.
So there's a loss. There's a loss that you would have, right? But at some point, when you were a child and you had some of these struggles, that loss did threaten your life, because if you were ostracized, if you were rejected by caretakers, you could not survive without that.
Yeah.
So your nervous system is still responding as if it's a life or death threat. And it's not life or death, it's it's a discomfort threat, not a life or death threat. You understand the difference?
Yeah.
So if our
My
nervous
brain doesn't.
system, yeah, our nervous system hasn't been updated to differentiate between something that is life or death versus discomfort, then you're going to constantly, the moment that discomfort pops up, it goes into life or death response. That's why you're dissociating, which
Mhm.
then adds to the cycle because, oh crap, it's the very thing I didn't want to do, which was screw it up. And now that fear is exacerbated. It's like a self-perpetuating cycle.
Yeah. And I'm so bad in groups. If I'm in a group of people, I'm terrible unless I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Then I
So,
say, well, when can I talk? And when if I say something, will it be stupid like some of the things I do say because I wasn't paying attention? And they'll come back and say, what are you, stupid?
you
What are
know
you,
what's, yeah,
retarded?
but you know what's ironic, Bob? Think about how many people do you know that are perfect? And do you really want to be around perfect people? I mean, I find friends that are as goofy as me
I'm
that,
goofy.
you
I
know,
mean,
mess
I
things
become
up.
goofy just to silence my own head. Things
Yeah.
like that. Uh,
So I'm really
so
curious, Bob, if you met somebody else that had, performance anxiety, that got so nervous that their voice box shut off, that had dyslexia, ADHD, how would you treat them? How would you feel about them? I mean, when I jumped on the phone, I mean, it's the first thing you said too, like I think you got ADHD like me. I do. What's your feelings towards me or towards anyone who struggles like that?
I think they're courageous. They're warriors. I have the utmost respect for people like that. I have respect somewhat for myself, but the bottom line is people don't have respect for me. I had to leave my kids because they didn't respect me. They didn't treat me right. They
Yeah.
treated me like a clown, like everybody treats me. Oh, here's Bob the clown. He's coming in. I was, in grammar school, the first 3 years, the third grade, 4 years, I had a person come up to me and say, I know nobody wants to talk to you, but I will. I was completely out, like
Mm,
in some other universe. I never talked to anybody. So then I realized that was bad. So I reversed my role. I became the class clown. I spent more time in the hallway than I did in the classroom. So,
hmm
um,
That was your way
I,
of surviving.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the method would be for
Well,
me to be
first,
able to trust myself
yeah. First, I think
completely.
it's so important that you distinguish yourself from your experiences. And the reason why I asked you about how you would respond to someone else, right? What that tells me, what does it say? What that says about you and who you are at the core is that you're a compassionate being, that you accept people as they are, right? And that you see that sometimes those quirks or those differences can serve as this individual, almost like a gift. We talk about courage. You can't have courage without fear. Nobody's impressed. Ever seen a 2-year-old be like, look what I could do, and they jump over a little line or something, it takes risk in order to have courage. So those things tell me who you are. When you get nervous, when you talk about how people disrespected or diminished you or all those things, that tells me what your experience has been. There's a difference
Yes,
between who you are and what you have experienced.
I had two brothers. One was 1 year older and one was 11 years older. The first one was, did you ever watch that show Blue Bloods with Tom Selleck?
Mm-hmm.
My brother is, I called the show, I won't say the name, but I call it by my brother's name. Because that's the type of dynamic bully that I had to deal with day in and day out. And he would ridicule me every chance he had. Then my brother knew everything. I mean, everything. One time he still does. One time I said, I have a GPS. I can get us to the hotel because we're trying to all go to one hotel. Oh, no, 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 no. You can't talk. You're making me nervous, Bob. Please shut up. This is the reactions I get. If I sit at a table, when I sat at this event, it was a funeral or a wake, I sat at one table, everybody in my family sat at the other one.
Well, that's I mean, it's unfortunate and that's sad to hear. I tell people, and this is one thing I had to learn over time too, is that there's a difference between relatives and family. Relatives are the ones that are blood related to you. Family are the ones who understand you, the ones that are
Yeah.
connected to you. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're one and the same, but not often.
I have a real sensitivity to being ridiculed and becoming, because I have a goofy sense of humor. So right away, people patronize me and say, "Oh, Bob, hey, you're funny, huh?" My brother does it all the time. And then I don't like it. But that's my authentic self. That is what I am. And I want to be what I am. So I had to leave my children, and it kills me every night.
Yeah.
My daughter is pretty much ghosting me, and my sons never call. Maybe they'll text me once in a while. But everything is my fault out of the divorce and all of that. So, I mean, I don't want to keep going about myself, but I just want to try to understand when you say, to trust yourself, and that will make a big difference, which I believe. But the question is, really, how is that done? If I was your patient,
you have to start with differentiating what part is you and what part is experience. What part is authentically who you want to be and what aligns with you, and what part is an adaptive response that helped you survive.
people do not like what I want to be. A lot of people do not like, neurotypical people mostly do not like me.
Well, here's the thing, Bob. We have what you call agency is the sense of control over your life, right? If we have an environment, if I put myself, let's say I was to get arrested or somewhere, go to jail and live in jail, I can't be what I am outside in the community in jail. I'm not going to survive. That's a different environment, right? You can't, there's different rules, there's different people, there's different ways of being to be quote unquote accepted or not exploited. And that's the number one thing that we need to start realizing. What types of environments are we putting ourselves in?
I was in the IT business, and I had to mask the whole time. I'm a tremendous actor, and I acted the whole time. Or else they would have canned me right away.
Already at that point, when we're masking, when we're putting ourselves in environments where we're forced to mask, we're already betraying ourselves. There's no more harm. Other people outside of us cannot do as much harm as we do to ourselves.
And that was 40 years, every day, day in and day out.
So it's going to take time to undo those habits, undo that reality. And this is the hard part about change. Your brain likes familiarity. Everybody's brain likes familiarity. Why? Because it's a lot easier. It's more efficient, right? It wants to run on efficiency, especially the older we get. We don't want to learn new tricks. You can teach old dogs new tricks, but we don't want to learn them because it takes a lot of body budget, a lot of energy. But it's totally possible. But we have to start recognizing what things, what people, what situations are contributing to reinforcing this thing that I don't want to be, this reality that I don't want to be in. And what do I need to do to change that? Number one, it's going to be uncomfortable as heck. It's like trying to learn a new language. You ever try to learn a new language?
Yes, I have.
You're going to have a terrible accent.
Spanish.
You're going to have to repeat it a million times. You're going to pick the wrong word. It's so uncomfortable. But it's the only way to learn. But so many people are afraid of that leap that they just decide not to learn. And that is what constricts us. That's what's, chaining us to the same life that we've always had. It inhibits our freedom.
I've talked to a lot of ADHD people, and their story is exactly the same as mine. Exactly. Yeah. They don't get along. They have bad relationships. They were ridiculed all their lives. It's hard to do things that are easy. All of these. I go into the airport, my brain shuts off, and I can't do the ticket thing. Yeah. It takes me 20 minutes. The guy behind me is all. It's just so much pressure, and all I hear is an announcement. Boarding at gate 7. I don't hear anything that the person talking to me is saying. It's hard to focus. Very hard.
Well, if you were to look at you said you listened to one of the podcasts. Would you guess that I had like straight F's in school, that I was a failure, that I didn't really even know how to speak English properly, that I screw up words?
No, I wouldn't, but I think you did say it, but
Yeah.
I
Music
know.
definitely was part of my history.
You have to, I think with this problem, you really have to know how to lose, like baseball players. They can lose a game, get over it, get up, do it again, and win. And that's been my philosophy right now.
It's learning that a loss is only a loss if you relent to it. Right. So you could lose, and I tell people the best games, I mean, you ever watch the Super Bowl? Like if one team is killing the other one from the start, that's a boring game.
Yes.
The best games are the ones where there's the
challenges.
Losing team, they lose, they're getting slaughtered first quarter. Second quarter, maybe they start fighting. Third quarter, they start coming back. Fourth quarter, they tie. And now it goes into overtime. And that's where they win. That is a good game.
Well, it is. And I love competition. My brother was very competitive and, he always beat me, but I was like almost beating him every time.
Yeah.
And then he gets so mad he beat me.
There's your strength. For myself, I'm a fighter, so I'm like, yeah. Was there bullying? Absolutely. Was there torture? I'm telling you, when I first had that job, when I was a therapist at bachelor level, I was taken to court to prove my incompetence. I mean, I don't know. I haven't met another person that had to go to court in front of a judge to prove their incompetence
I didn't, but I've been fired. I've been fired from jobs because, of my oddity. And also, I interviewed a person who said, every job I went to, Bob, they discovered that I was different and off.
Yeah.
And the only thing that saved me, the only thing is that I have the brain to do things that like a lot of people don't know how to do. That's what ADHD people are all about. They do the work. They're doers. They focus when they have to.
And I think that it's uncomfortable and it's hard and it's unfair and it's whatever else you want to give it, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's a decision.
That's
because
right.
I never planned on being where I'm at, but I know it was that relentless, continued pursuit of understanding myself. Because at some point you got to give up on having others understand you.
Right. Resilience is a must for that. I mean, if you don't do these things, you wind up on the street or in jail. That's what happens to a lot of ADHD people. My opinion is that ADHD is the core problem in the world, that people don't know they have it, they deny they have it. Then you have all these problems of self-esteem. Oh, why do I do things bad? For 60 years, I really didn't know what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, this rap singer called NF all of a sudden described everything that was wrong with me up on a stage. It's everything that was wrong. And I finally could feel okay about it. And then I went to social media and I saw all these other people that were like me. But I didn't know for 60 years. I didn't know what was really wrong with me. And I would sit in the parking lot and say, what exactly is wrong with me? I don't understand why I'm like this. And I think I hope I'm speaking for a lot of my listeners. Why are we like this? We don't want to be like this.
Well, and I think whether it's ADHD or whether it's there's a trauma response or there's a mood disorder or there's, other diagnosable conditions that are actually just the normal part of the human variety, that all humans are supposed to be different. That's what a healthy society looks like. But I think it's time that we shift that narrative. Instead of what's wrong with me, it's understanding that society has not been built to accommodate people like me.
Exactly.
What do I need to do for myself, right, so that I can still build a life for myself is the better question. It's like someone who was born without legs. How long do they sit around being upset that they don't have legs? I mean, it's part of, that happens sometimes.
When I walk around in my walker,
a walker, or do you see people running the Olympics?
They're running to help me. And then if I do something bad because of my ADHD problem or their problem with it, they're not helping me. They're making fun of me. Oh, you're the clown. Ha ha. You can't take this. You can't come back. One guy told me one time, is I don't know how to go. One day I showed up after vacation and my whole office was rigged. Like the phone was taped, and I put something on the monitor that was just a painting, and I was trying to hit the icons and all. So I went to my boss about it, and this guy went ballistic on me. Like, what? How dare you go to the boss? We're just fooling around. You don't know how to do it, so you're a jerk. So I'm sure other people run into this problem that I know when I'm getting bombarded, I can't come back with anything good. My whole being becomes like, my brain blanks out. Yeah. Because I just can't believe a person would do this to me. And especially coming from my children, where it hurts twice as bad. And, I'm not trying to be woe is me, but I think there's a lot of people out there that listen to my program that would say the same thing. And they need a direction where to go for help. And that's what I try to get them information on this show, so to help them. I guess if you're a person like myself, what would be your first step?
First step would be to get curious. Number one, I think it's important that we understand how humans survive, I call it the standard human package. We all have a nervous system. We all have a brain. This is how the brain works. We go through experience and it's stored. That information is stored in neural networks, the way synapses fire and wire together.
Right.
The hard part is that the older we get, that pattern of wiring and firing together becomes this like map of who we are, of who we perceive ourselves to be. But it's really just the pattern of experiences that we've had. It doesn't hold the answer for ourselves. The answer holds in the fact that we can observe the pattern, we can recognize the pattern, and we can actively choose to break out of it. The issue and the challenge is that breaking out of it is going to feel like you're risking your life, like you're breaking away from a reality, and that could be very disturbing, right? So having somebody to support that is the role of a therapist, to help you through that process, to hold that space for you, to help explain things to you, normalize, yep, this is part of the path. Yep, that feels that way. Yeah, you keep going. Yeah, it feels like you're going to die, but you're not going to die. It's just going to be very uncomfortable. Yes, it's embarrassing. You're not going to die from embarrassment. Let's keep going. Kind of like as your coach, right? We can't do it for you, but we can coach you through it, support you through it, normalize things through it. But it's still a lot of work that has to be done internally. Yeah. You have to decide if you're going to settle for the life that you were giving. You have to decide if you're going to accept the reality that was handed over to you, right? And I understand when people say victim stance. I mean, life is hard and some people just get like the worst. I don't know if we pick these packages or what's going on, but there was a lapse of judgment in whoever gave you those challenges, And ultimately, I mean, being a trauma therapist, I see people from all walks of life with all kinds of tragedies in their life, all kinds of unfair things, that happen. And ultimately, the only place we have control is how we choose to respond or what meaning we give to it. And we can decide, I joke around like, yeah, well, were you a minority woman as well? What I was expected to be is not anything that I am. And I had to decide whether I was going to accept that as a reality or decide to pursue my own. I had to actively say, no, thank you. You want to put me down or say that I don't belong here. I don't do that. Thank you, but no thanks. I have to decide. I'm going to choose. I'm going to figure out how. No one's going to have that map for me. I have to go off-roading. And it's going to be very uncomfortable. And everything in me is going to say, nope, stay on the path. But here's the thing, Bob, and this is interesting now that I think about it. When I was younger, I used to go to graveyards just to go. I don't know why it fascinated me to look at, the stones. I think it was because I read this poem called The Dash that talked about the dash between the years, and that's really your lifetime. And I thought, if I'm on this journey, I'm going to look, and you see different headstones, and some people lived for like 89 years. Some people had 27. Some people lived to their 40s, some like in their 30s, or sometimes it was just a child. And here's the thing that I found out, because I read books about, the top regrets of death and dying. And two that always stuck out to me was, number one, I wish I didn't care so much about what other people thought. And number two, I wish I was not so afraid to do the things I really wanted to do. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
top two regrets. And I
Yeah, people are
decided
afraid.
I will fight. I will do whatever I need to do to not get to that place at the end of life.
I do the same thing. I mean, I'm trying like hell to overcome a lot of
Yeah.
adversity. People that listen to this broadcast are the same. We all are trying
So
to
here's the place
understand
where I
what
would
would help us.
start, right? Listen to what's coming out your mouth. Listen to what you're saying and listen to your thoughts. And here's your little test. Are you doing either of those things? When you're talking about your reality and your experiences, is it caring about what other people think, or is it sharing what Bob actually wants to create? And
Well,
if
I mean,
it's one or the
yeah,
other, that will determine how much energy, time, and space you give it.
exactly. And I think I'm trying to do both. I'm thinking of the listener. They don't have a voice. I have a voice as small as it might be. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think about what, and I can relate it to what my stuff. And I do talk about myself way too much. But I really don't want to get on the show and just say, oh, you do that. That's great. And all that. I want to be able to help myself and other
Yeah.
people to understand. And it has happened. I mean, this whole thing about, staying in the moment, touching that's brilliant. I mean, it works well
Mm-hmm.
90% of the time. And
Yeah.
I feel good for the first time in my life because I took the right medicine. And there's a lot of people out there that say, I'm not taking medicine. That medicine stinks. That show you were on, I think, said that, they'd rather do it. Everybody would rather do it by talking, but the reality is at the moment you're suffering, if you stay off the medicine, I mean, people cut themselves. And that's just to get a rush, and I get nervous and make up trauma or drama. And I just want to try to understand how we all can stop doing that.
Yeah, I think
What
it's
can
really
replace it?
it's about we need to stop looking at those things as the problem. Those are actually the solutions to the problem. Whether it's cutting because someone's so dissociated and that actually forces their attention to the now, to be connected in the now, that's the solution. The problem is the level of distress that they're experiencing that comes from either some experience it's not integrated, it's not happening in the now, it's from back then. So working through that and trying to integrate, make sense of those things, that's the work to be done. But anything that you see that usually is pathologized, that's made into a problem, that's actually the solution. So truly understanding the problem is the start. We got to understand that piece. The problem is not accepting certain things or, having a hard time. If something bad happened, okay, it happened to me, but I'm not there anymore, right? Or these people that don't understand me, I can choose not to engage with them. Here's the issue: there's all
At
these
what
social
cost?
rules about how we should respond to family. So then there's guilt and shame because people say, well, that's your blood, you should love them, you should be, have a relationship with them. No, you're telling me based off of your reference point of what that is, but my experience is different. And sometimes there needs to be boundaries. There needs to be a disruption in that relationship for the
Right.
sake
And
of
I
your
think that's
peace.
where I'm at with my kids. I'm waiting for them to accept me. And they don't want to because they're going to heaven through Christianity and Jesus, and they believe in Republican government. And that's the end of it. My son tries to convert me. I say, look, I don't go one way. I'm not in a tribe like that,
Mm-hmm.
as far as politics. So we try to avoid it, but it comes up. And the way they treat me was unacceptable. So I had to leave. I had to. because I was really having a problem. So it's hard because sometimes you can't say, look, you love a person,
Yeah.
but then they don't like you. So what do you do? They don't respect you. So what do you do?
You set
Um,
boundaries. You have to love from afar.
which I have. I said
Yeah.
goodbye. I'm leaving because you guys hurt me all the time. Maybe I hurt you too, so that's good. We're like porcupines, right? The closer we get, the more we hurt each other. My
Yeah.
daughter cannot understand why I am the way I am. She's embarrassed and she thinks I'm a narcissist. And there's nothing I can do because after the divorce, when she was 3 years old, my ex never let me get her ever. And then I went out to San Diego where she went to school the first year, but then it turned into that 2008 stock market crash. And that's the area my work was in. And so I had to leave San Diego and I had another episode, as I call them, because it was so devastating to me. And I guess I'm looking and other people are looking, how do we achieve mental health with these, huge problems? I do go to counseling and it's all just me talking like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. I know I got to get out of myself. I have to exercise. I have to eat right. And all those things will help. But like you said, when will I learn to trust myself?
Well, you got to start working on that relationship with yourself. So, whatever you're doing in therapy, I would really encourage, number one, like I said, catch yourself when you're talking about others and how others are responding. Not that it's not valid. We always, as therapists, we're taught to validate feelings. Yeah, of course they're valid, but what happens after that? Because you have no control over other people. So you could be completely righteous in your feelings of this person was disrespectful or abusive and all that. And I could say, yeah, you're right. Doesn't give us any further steps, because now if you're sitting there and waiting for someone outside of you to do something before you can move forward, that could be the rest of your life and you never really got to live your life.
I
You
think
spent it all waiting.
I'm now moving forward, but
So
every night I have heartache. Every time I go
yeah,
lay in the bed, it's heartache.
here's what I would tell you, Bob. When you feel that, put your hand on your heart. Put your hand on your heart
Mm-hmm.
and hold it as if you were talking to a friend, a dear friend, with the same level of compassion you would have for a dear friend that was suffering. And you sit and you listen to your body, not the echoes of things that other people said to you, but the emotion and the pain that you're experiencing in that moment. Allow yourself to honor it, to acknowledge it, to hold it, and more importantly, to comfort it and connect to it. You start practicing that, holding that space for you, connecting to you, acknowledging and seeing you, and that relationship will start shifting.
Yeah, I believe that it's hard. Yeah, I mean, I know you should be grateful at night and say, here are the things that went good today. I know that is true, and you should get out of yourself. I know
Yeah, but
my,
I would say any of those shoulds, or, we got to put the rules aside and just be. Just be with
mm,
what is. Be with the grief, be with the sadness, the pain, whatever it is, just be with it. It will dissipate. It's just information from the body that is expressing itself. You got to learn to hold space for it. And when
yeah,
it passes, then the clarity comes. Then the breath comes so that you can think again, so that you can proceed in a way that you wish to, not in a way that was the old way of surviving, right? Of barely getting through things, but in a way that you can make a decision about how you will proceed. And that's where you start reclaiming your life. You start reclaiming your agency. But it requires us to slow down and to do things differently.
true. If you do it the same way, nothing will happen.
Yeah. No, well, the same thing that's always happened is going to continue happening.
Yeah. You have to change. You have to do something. I always
Yeah.
try to say that.
But it starts off with how you're treating you, what you're saying about you, what you're accepting about you.
True. Yeah. I'm going to keep working on it until the day I go. And I think, I think at the end of the road, maybe I'll get to a point where I'm comfortable all the time instead of 75% of the time.
Yeah, if you haven't learned to really like appreciate you with all your quirks and your funny, things
I
that
don't
you've
always
got,
do.
then that's really the whole point of once you get to that place, everything else you can just observe as what it is. You don't personalize it. You see people struggle with their own stuff, their own judgments, their own beliefs about the world and what should be and what shouldn't be.
That's true, and that's exactly right. So we all have to keep going and be warriors, like you said. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is your treatment for PTSD. I think we have talked about it, but have you had cases where there was just like one problem, like a car accident or Vietnam or that? What method do you use on people that have PTSD?
Yeah, for PTSD,
there are people
it's not that clean cut. I can tell you that. It's not clean cut. I mean, when I first started as a therapist, I thought my role was just like, don't make it not hurt anymore. So a person has flashbacks or nightmares and you make it not continue. And those pieces, there's a lot of fantastic interventions that'll help with resolving either the stuck images or this experience that is like in stuck in high alert. There's multiple things that you can use, and depending on the individual, I could tell you someone who has PTSD based off of an incident didn't just have that incident that was traumatic, right? So it's by the time we respond in an incident or an experience gets stuck, there's so many more layers that contributed to that stuckness. So if you have someone, hypothetically, I don't know anyone who's grown up like, I call it the white picket fence life, where everything was great and the parents were attuned and
I call
they
it
had
fake
the
book.
Financial means and, what you might call healthy.
Yeah, I call it fake book.
Yeah, the fake book. I like that. So if somebody had that and they go through an adversity, their brain reorganizes. Brain might be like, freak out in the moment, go into fight or flight. But shortly right after, it's like, whew, we survived that. That was a crazy ride. And then you go back to baseline.
And then it's
baseline
over.
Is health, right?
Yeah. My son did that because he had a bad attack because it's in the family. And he treated it differently. He didn't panic. He just took the right medicines for the time being.
Yeah.
And then it was over for him.
Right. Yeah. That's anyone.
For me, it's never over. Yeah.
Right. But for someone who has unprocessed or undigested experiences, we call those unintegrated memories. They're not really connected. You experience something as a child that was too big to handle, too much, or because it was ongoing. So if there was domestic violence in the home, alcoholism, all kinds, or neglect, or any of that, there was no caretaker to teach you how to get through that experience. So there's a lack of what we call capacities, or there's a lack of skills. And if you cannot master those experiences as a child, life only gets increasingly more difficult and complex. So it becomes very difficult to process or get through the experiences as an adult. And so the problem is not necessarily the challenges that come as an adult, rather the lack of capacity to navigate through those challenges. That is what the problem that creates this problem where these experiences are now playing over and over in your head, or your nervous system gets stuck in survival mode, or panic happens or whatnot. Those are the things that we tend to pathologize, meaning we're turning them into a problem instead of recognizing that those are indicators of something that's lacking from within, from before that.
It's also dangerous though too, that like my son denies things. Like I say to him, the divorce was hard on you guys, and he said, no, it wasn't. No, I'm good.
Well,
and he always says I'm good. you
Here's the
know?
thing too, Bob, is that, anyone who comes to my office knows, like, if they tell me something's not an issue, I'm not going to argue with them. Then I
Right.
believe them that it's not an issue, because I worked with, kids who had committed offenses at first, and I worked with some trafficked kids and, victims, some pretty severe abuse when I worked with kids from DCS custody. And a lot of what other people would say is a trauma, a lot of those kids would say, nah, that wasn't the trauma. Like, I'm fine with that. I had girls that would, like, be arrested for, working the streets, but to them that was empowering. Why? Because they were taught early on that they were not valuable. And so if I'm going to capitalize on this, on my reality, what's real to me, then to me that's empowering, not traumatizing. And I understand that from their perspective. But society
Mm.
doesn't see it that way, right? So
No.
anyone who has gone through the experiences, it's all you know. It doesn't mean it's not painful. I'm sure, but yeah, it's painful, it's disruptive or disturbing, but only you know what parts impact you. So I
Hmm.
start off with that. I don't label the experiences in your life as the
Mm.
problem. Only you can discover that by getting curious with how you're responding, with where you're getting stuck, with, what areas in your life do you feel that you lack any control or agency in, and then
Hmm.
getting curious with that. That's going to take you to where that problem started. And it might not be an obvious answer of a trauma. It could be something that, someone else would be like, that's not a problem. Why are you tripping about that? It doesn't seem like a big deal. But it
Right.
is to your brain. Your brain adapted
Yes.
something or understood something about the world in that moment. That's what we call a critical memory. It's critical because it serves as a reference point for future experiences and can impact how you perceive attachment, relationships, connection, self worth, all of those things. And that's what we
Yeah.
got to start getting curious about.
I'm very big on advocacy, even though I can't pronounce it well. I want schools to change. I want workplace to change. I've talked to several people that had great ideas. I still think it's too slow right now as far as changing, but at least we're making some progress. Um,
We have to
that,
start with ourselves. We have
yeah.
to start to we have to start with recognizing where our hunger lies. Because here's the thing, when we approach something hungry, we're not going to make good decisions. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
over there and advocating for a victim because I haven't gotten past my own victimhood, and I'm thinking that that's what's going to heal me, I'm going to be reckless. I might not make good decisions. I have to get to the other side of healing in order to be able to have a better map and a better understanding, therefore be more intentional with how I advocate.
But yeah, the thing is, um, there's a certain way that ADHD people think,
Yeah.
and it's not taught in school.
No, it's
It's
not.
the opposite.
Yep.
And this is where I'm going. We need somebody to stand up and say, wait a minute, if you taught them the way they should be taught, they would be great and valuable people. Because most ADHD people are very good at certain things. I was great at computers. Over here, they're great at something else. So, I'm the first one in the picket line if there's problems at work or in school, because we need to take action. I think. I don't. What's your opinion on all that?
Well, there's this saying, I think it was a monk or someone that said, there's not enough leather to cover the world, so you cover your feet. There's so many things in society that are not, it doesn't accommodate people with disabilities, doesn't accommodate people with neurodiversity. There's very, specific, I don't like social structures that are set that way, and it hasn't changed, and it probably won't change, because if it's accommodating I don't know that it would be the majority, so much so as, like, maybe those in power, that have a little more capacity or a little bit more resources. But the thing is, we can't expect the world to change for us to accommodate us. We have to start with claiming our own worth, our own voice. Stop being an echo. We have to find our own voice. And then we have to seek to understand the societal constructs or whatever it is that we think that we need to battle. We have to understand it. We have to understand ourselves and then understand that so we can become the bridge to making a space for ourselves. Right? I get you with ADHD. I knew it was no way. This is why I didn't do well in school, because I could not stay focused for too long. I was not going to be a 9-to-5er. I could tell you that. I would be miserable and fail. So I'm a person that always holds like 3 different jobs or 3 different positions, and then, some stuff on the side. I need constant stimulation. Someone else might say, you're overworking yourself, you're burning yourself out. That's because their brain works that way. My brain needs something different. Nobody can tell me what my brain needs. I have to discover it myself. Just like no one can tell you what your brain needs. You have to discover it yourself, but you've got to stop using someone else's template. How do I know it's someone else? Because they're telling you that there's something wrong with you. Right. That's their perception. That's not your truth. So those are the things we start shutting out.
I feel that it can change. And if people, like any other movement, if there's enough voices, you don't have to be powerful to make changes. It just happens. If
there's enough voices, or they see you doing things that they can't do. We're doing some things that other people might not be able to do. And now I'm not demanding any respect from them, right? They start becoming curious and they learn to have appreciation. Because I'm learning to use my gifts in the way that I know how, that I've discovered. Nobody gave me the book to that. There is no instruction manual for unique individuals. You have to write it.
It's just like blacks going into baseball. Any kind of movement like that, I believe it has to start, with the people. And
it has to start with the people, yeah. And once we learn how to do that for ourselves, then we can do that for others. We can walk others through that process.
You're right, but it's something that I think it's important to discuss and make people aware that there are these discrepancies and there are these problems where they label us as the bad child and whatever.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important that we talk about it at the very least. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah. And you're doing a good job bringing awareness. I think that is important.
Well, it's the mission of the podcast, but everybody's got to, I think, chip in and try to make it a better world. That's what I believe in.
Yeah. That's what I hope too. Not everybody's on the same mission, but if enough of us are, then I think we could put a good dent.
Right. So I see here you have a lot of different techniques, like critical memory integration is one of them. Is that easy to explain, or?
Yeah, CMI is the thing that I really my specialty. That's the approach that we I would say uncovered, not developed, but rather uncovered through our on our mission through Arise Alliance. A team of us clinicians got together and said, hey, what are the things that are working? What are things that are not working? And as a therapist for, I've been in the behavioral health field for over 20 years. I think I'm coming up on 25. So I've had the privilege of not just observing and being able to be a part of people's like most intimate, aspects of their life and their journey, but also practicing different approaches that we're taught and seeing what the outcomes are and seeing where the limitations are. And ultimately it came down to, okay, I could teach you how to regulate your nervous system. I can help you, get past these nightmares or flashbacks. But at the end of the day, do you love yourself? Do you understand yourself better, deeper, appreciate your journey more than when you first met me? Like, are you in a place where you trust yourself to then take control over your life? Because I don't believe that therapists are supposed to be like there for life, right? Good therapy should equip you with a better understanding of yourself because you are the expert of your own life. And so we were looking for something that would help get those pieces of how the individual perceives themselves. And so that's where CMI came from. It's critical memory integration. It's a method that helps people connect to that inner experience and tap into their inner wisdom. That part, that aspect, it's essentially like a process that allows the mind and the body to reveal where the root of these responses is coming from. So whether it's early childhood experience or whether it's an adaptive response, or sometimes it shows up like a metaphor, but as you connect to it, you have to go through the process internally, like your body is sending signals that's letting you know there's something here that is demanding your attention. And this is the process of integration, looking at that experience, allowing yourself to access it. So the process is called memory reconsolidation. And what that means is that every time you recall something, the memory lights up. It's not like a book, but we use the book analogy because you know how books have like the place, the person, the story, but it's really neural network. It's a memory network in your brain that gets activated, like lit up. And anytime that happens, it's susceptible to change. There's new information that could be connected to it. And when we have an experience that's stored in one of those neural networks that we try to forget, that we pushed away, or we never really resolved, it's like this missing puzzle piece that's shoved in the back of your closet. And it still continues to dictate your response, but it's ruling you from beneath your conscious awareness. And that's where we get stuck in these loops of thinking, I know better, I should do better, but why do I keep doing this thing that I promised myself I'd never do? That's where we get frustrated because our brain is dissociating when we really want to demand it to be present. Or when we get this emotion response that is extra and we get frustrated with ourselves because there's something missing.
You wind up doing what other people did to you.
Yeah, you wind up doing the same thing that you're trying to avoid.
And reliving also.
Yeah.
I talked to some women that were, their husbands made them into sex slaves or whatever. Yep. But they would say to me, that's the third time I went with somebody that did that. I'm like, really? I mean, how do you pick them?
And those are the pieces I saw, Bob. Those are the pieces I saw in my practice is like, okay, I'm helping this woman that's in a domestic violence situation and she finally breaks away, finds this other guy that is like, the love of her life, and lo and behold, 2 years later, it's the same exact pattern. It was just different flavors.
How does that happen? Is that a universe thing?
No, that happens. I mean, if you look at it from the neurobiological lens, it happens because there is something familiar about them that attracts us to them.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we don't even realize that that's what's attracting us to them. But, we talked about language earlier. If I'm around Spanish speakers, there's something that it does. That's my mother tongue, and I feel at ease with that language. Oh, yeah. That doesn't mean every Spanish speaker is a good person. You know what I mean? There's bad and good people in every language. But I'm going to feel more comfortable and at ease, like a piece of home. It's the same thing with our adaptive responses. This smells like toxicity. That's my comfort food. We're not doing that logically. We're not doing that from a conscious perspective. It's our unconscious. It's the subconscious that's guiding those responses.
I am so grateful for you hanging on and talking this long.
That's okay.
I wanted to, if you like, open up the floor, like in It's a Wonderful Life, if you ever saw that movie, where the gymnasium floor. I would like to open the floor for you to say, whatever you want to say to our listeners, and also any kind of links and all of that.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say is that you're not broken. You're not broken. Be curious about how you're responding, the areas that you get stuck, and just be curious. If it requires, you finding someone that's safe, that provides that space for you to feel safe to get curious about it, do that. But life is too short to stay stuck in cycles. Life is too short to be an echo of things that someone who doesn't have the best interest of your life has instilled in you. And so become curious about those things. How you know it doesn't come from you is because we're not wired to self-destruct. We're wired to survive and self-preserve. So anything that's not building you up is probably coming from somewhere else. Self-esteem, self-love doesn't mean that you are super proud of everything and that you just think so highly of yourself. It's just that you understand yourself as human and you show yourself the same compassion as you would another living being. So I
That
think
is
that's
so
what I would
true.
say is just be curious and be kind to yourself, and know that you matter, and that there's a lot of us out there that love people as they are, and that we're doing our best to try to
And
change.
I'll have I'll have all the links out there that you have in your wherever I can get the information.
Yeah, on our website, arisealliance.org. If you know any clinicians that would like to be trained in CMI and that approach, that's what we're doing. We're trying to
Okay,
help other
all
therapists,
right.
approach things
Now, do
from.
you take patients as far as counseling one-on-one type thing?
Yeah, I mean, I practice a
Do you
couple
still
days a
do
week,
that?
but we have I'm actually in Gilbert. Oftentimes we'll get pretty full, but we've trained other clinicians. We definitely need more therapists out there. But I'm doing my best to also bring this information out to the community, to all those individuals that typically would never set foot in a therapist office, either for fear,
Hmm.
it could be scary,
Oh yeah,
or because there's just this misunderstanding of what therapy or healing is. And, a lot of our industry has contributed to that. When you have someone that thinks that, because they have a degree, it's going to
yeah.
heal someone. That's not what heals people. So yeah, we provide other like groups, or, I've done trainings for organizations like schools, or for foster parents. For I did one with a department at a city city hall or a city office, and one for police department. So we train all kinds of organizations with the information. We take the information and kind of modify it, give them the tools that are useful for their line of work or whatever their purpose is in life. So we're here to support you.
Yeah, I'm so glad I booked you. You were one of my best guests, and you put up with me. That's plus one.
Bob, I
Yeah,
fully embrace you.
yeah,
That is not
putting
putting
up
up.
with me
It's
is
fully
difficult,
embraced. And
especially when I get on my high horse or whatever. But my intentions are always good. I want to help.
yes, they
I
are.
want to help. I don't want.
Yeah.
I want to eliminate mental health. That's my goal. Just get rid of it. And
Bob, I'm honored to have gotten to know you more fully. I think that you cannot truly care for a person until you know them
yeah,
fully.
I'm an open book,
You gotta,
and people,
yeah.
oh, you cried on the air, you're a big baby. Why do you? Yeah,
Well, it's called being
yeah,
human.
yeah. I mean, I have feelings, so I express them
Yeah.
on the outside. Yes,
It's time to
exactly.
normalize
All
that.
right, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
It's almost time anyway. But I really
All
appreciate it.
right.
Take
Have a
care.
good evening,
All
Bob.
righty. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.